Is it possible, Brendan, that a coalition could be formed with either ACT or Winston Peters? Is that a choice Christopher Luxon might have once the counting is finished?
I think realistically he's going to have to form a coalition with both.
Right.
And what we know at the moment is there's a couple of seats that National do hold. They've flipped them from Labor seats to National seats, but we're talking about very slim majorities right now, and the special votes still haven't been finalised. For example, we've got one electorate they hold by 30 votes presently, another one they hold by 80. These are very slim margins, and so they could easily flip back. And I think New Zealand First is absolutely going to have to be part of the mix. And I think it would be prudent for Luxon to bring him in as well. One of the things that Winston has got a very strong and internationally respected reputation for was previously he had the role of foreign minister, and he is highly regarded around the world. A lot of other leaders and politicians say he was really great to deal with. So it would be very wise, I think, right now and with the state of world affairs for Luxon to actually bring him in, and I don't know if he's going to have much choice either.
Yeah, interesting. Well, it'll be fascinating to see how all that plays out over the next few weeks. Sounds like whilst it's a repudiation of Jacinda Ardern, I don't know that there's a lot of hope that Conservatives and perhaps Christian voters can take from the result, but time will tell. Just finally, before I let you go, Brendan, you've got Maori co-governance or some sort of system of co-governance, and you've got the Treaty of Waitangi and other treaties. Indigenous relations there is a huge issue, and of course we've just had our Indigenous voice referendum last weekend. A lot of people in Australia are wondering how is the New Zealand experiment in co-governance working out, and has it created inequality based on race in your political system, and is that something that we should worry about here in Australia?
Well, it's a fascinating question, and I think like the Treaty of Waitangi is actually quite an interesting document in and of itself. In the 1800s when it's signed, it's an agreement between the Maori people and the English Crown. And it's fascinating because it is one of the only documents of its kind in the world with the Crown. We were just too far away, and it was too costly to try and fight a land war here. So it made a lot more sense to negotiate, and the French Revolution was happening. There's all sorts of things going on in the world at the time. And so the document itself is pretty simple and straightforward. The problem we've got now is with some rather creative interpretations and reinterpretation, you could say, of what that document actually means, and people treating it like a living document that they can interpret how they see fit. And that's where a lot of the issues are arising. It has served our people, I think, fairly well up until the last couple of years. And this big issue, the spectre of co-governance, which actually doesn't really look so much like co-governance, but it looks more like a sort of reflection of those various UN treaties that have been imported into our country. The separation that's starting to happen, and it was driven by Labor. One very clear flashpoint for this was our healthcare system. They abolished all of what we called our DHBs, district health boards, and there was about 8 or 9 of them around the country. Local areas had their own health authorities, basically. They abolished all of those, combined them into one centralised committee based in Wellington, which never works well. But then for the Māori community, they created a separate healthcare system, a Māori healthcare system. And what's happening now is we're starting to hear stories of people ringing up who need particular healthcare, maybe an operation or some sort of scan or treatment, and they're being told, sorry, we're not taking any more European New Zealand or non-Māori New Zealand appointments, but they have spaces for Māori patients. So people are literally just saying, well, I've got Māori heritage, even if they don't, and they're getting in. The whole thing has become rather farcical. And like I said, when you have on the one hand, you destroy subsidiarity, destroy local sort of control and authority and amalgamate it into one giant committee, centralised committee in Wellington for everyone else. But then you say to the Māori community, we'll give you actual control over your healthcare affairs. It's a total contradiction. And it's become extremely messy and divisive.